Well, hello and welcome to the Mike Koenigs Show. This is episode number 13. This is money-making ideas for entrepreneurs, and we have a really special guest for you, Michael Davidson from Gen Next today. By the way, the show is sponsored by our friends at Bulletproof Coffee. Yummy. So what are we going to be talking about today? Well, a couple big ideas. One of them is, what does it take to create a global movement that integrates business, politics, education, and global security? Now, these are big ideas and, in my opinion, insanely complex and overwhelming to deal with. Now, although I find them interesting, I generally stay away from politics and religion, aside from making fun of the people who take either of the topics too seriously. But having said that, as I turn 50 next week, my mind increasingly gets concerned with legacy and thinking about the world that we leave our children behind. And I will also say that I've spent a lot of time in the ocean, and I have been noticing definitely some big changes. And I've also talked to people who are professional fishermen, the sustainable fishermen, for example, just talking about the changes they've seen in the oceans. And that's one thing specifically that really concerns me. And as we enter into this area where we talk about our food system, our food supply, the oceans, which, you know, the world kind of begins and ends inside that. You got to ask yourself, you know, what's going on here? So in this episode, you're going to meet Michael Davidson, who is CEO of Gen Next. And we're going to talk about some really big ideas. And in our extended overtime interview and our podcast, we're going to go a lot deeper, which I will just tell you right now. It's really interesting. He is a fascinating human being. You can get that extended interview right now by going to mrbz.com/podcast, or if you want the audio version of the podcast, you can just head to mrbz.com/audiopod. All right, so with that in mind, I'm also going to share my You Everywhere Now segment that is titled, What do you need to do to wow your audience with your talks? And this particular segment is filled with public speaking tips and how to get the most engagement out of an audience and keep them engaged. Now, combining these two big ideas seem like a complete no-brainer, because to me, if you want to make or have any impact at all, you've got to get the right message to the right audience using the right medium. So, for example, you're here with me right now. You're either watching or listening on any number of platforms, and it could be YouTube, it could be iTunes audio or video, it could be on Facebook, it could be on LinkedIn, and it could be presented to you either live or recorded. Now, you might even be watching this show on network TV, because I've actually been in the process of cracking that distribution method as well. The whole point is, doesn't matter who you are, where you live, what you do, your goal is to share your message with as many people as possible, to have as much impact as possible. And when I look back at my life, it's been done using networking, masterminds. Those have been the biggest ROI. Interestingly, the online world I've used as a means to get in front of people, but I still find that I have the most impact, at least I believe so anyway, by meeting people face to face. So one of the things that I will tell you as we roll into the segment today is you've got to get out there and get your message shared and tell your story in as many ways as humanly possible. So with that in mind, we're going to go to my interview with Michael Davidson. And in the process, you're also going to get a chance to meet a talented young investigative journalist who interviews him somewhere in between when I interview him as well. So let's check that out and go to Michael Davidson from Gen Next.